In this episode, you will see footage that is difficult even to comprehend. Over the past week, cataclysms have struck the planet with renewed force. We will show the most anomalous of these events and discuss a factor that remains significantly underestimated by the scientific community today. United States. The city of Enid, Oklahoma, found itself at the center of a powerful storm system on the evening of April 23rd, which produced a destructive tornado. Even before the vortex approached, the city was partially left without electricity, causing warning sirens to fail. As the roar of the wind intensified, a funnel began to form, and soon meteorologists issued a rare alert level: tornado emergency, indicating a direct threat of destruction and casualties. The tornado that struck Enid was distinguished by exceptional strength and duration. According to estimates, it reached EF4 intensity, with wind speeds exceeding 280 kilometers per hour. The tornado remained on the ground for about 30 minutes, unusually long for such phenomena, and moved slowly, as if carving a path through the city. In its wake, it left a narrow but extremely destructive strip. Dozens of homes were damaged, at least 40 were completely destroyed, vehicles were overturned, and debris was scattered over large distances. The destruction appeared almost surreal. Some houses were completely obliterated, while neighboring ones remained nearly untouched, a characteristic feature of powerful tornadoes. The vortex also impacted Vance Air Force Base, a strategically important facility, where damage was recorded, along with disruptions to electricity and water supply. As a result, the base was temporarily closed. This tornado was not an isolated event. It was part of a large-scale weather system, during which up to 17 tornadoes were recorded overnight in the region. Rescue operations were complicated by heavy rain and new thunderstorms. Around 10 people were injured, but fortunately, despite the scale of destruction, there were no fatalities. Russia. In the second half of April, the European part of Russia was hit by a series of intrusions of winter cold, accompanied by freezing rain, snowfall, and hurricane-force winds. On April 20th, a sharp cold snap occurred in the Volga region, accompanied by snowfall. Severe weather complicated the situation on the roads. On the M12 highway in Chuvashia and the Nizhny Novgorod region, numerous accidents were recorded, including due to the fact that many drivers had already switched to summer tires. In Nizhny Novgorod and the surrounding region, nearly a monthly amount of precipitation fell over 2 days, according to the Hydrometeorological Center. In the Mariel Republic, snow cover in some places reached 29 centimeters. In Chuvashia, temperature fluctuations led to snow rapidly turning into prolonged freezing rain, forming a thick ice crust on trees and power lines. Under its weight, branches broke en masse, and trees fell onto cars, houses, and power lines. By the morning of April 21st, about 60 power grid accidents were recorded, leaving parts of several districts without electricity. In the Kirov region, precipitation continued for several days, and by April 22nd, snowdrifts in some places reached up to 32 centimeters in height. In the city of Kirov, over 5 days of snowfall, precipitation equal to 1.5 monthly norms fell. Many meteorological stations in the Central Federal District of the country also recorded temporary snow cover. In the settlement of Cherusty in the Moscow region, within 1 day, a snow cover formed with snowdrifts reaching up to 11 centimeters. An Arctic storm cyclone struck the Kola Peninsula on April 24th, with hurricane-force wind gusts recorded along the coast. Snowfalls and blizzards accompanied the storm, while visibility dropped to 200 meters. In Murmansk, about 19 millimeters of precipitation fell over 2 days, approximately 70% of the monthly April norm. Icing and temperature fluctuations worsened the situation, causing disruptions to infrastructure and numerous road traffic accidents. In the Novokuznetsk district of the Kemerovo region, on the night of April 22nd, a section of the Bisk-Novokuznetsk highway partially collapsed. At the 186th kilometer between the settlements of Yula and Kandalep, the road subsided and shifted sideways due to soil saturation with meltwater. The destroyed section stretched for at least 30 meters, with the depth of the collapse reaching about 5 meters. As a result of the accident, transport connections with 6 settlements were effectively paralyzed, leaving them cut off from the outside world due to the absence of alternative roads. A state of emergency was declared in the region. By April 24th, specialists reported a worsening situation. Overnight, the road surface subsided by another 20 centimeters. All bus routes, including those to the resort city of Belokurica, were temporarily suspended. Ukraine. On April 26th, a powerful cold front struck Ukraine, accompanied by a series of dangerous natural phenomena, from dust storms and squally winds to hail and snowstorms. Wind gusts in some areas reached 30 meters per second, toppling trees, power lines, and billboards. The effects of the disaster were recorded in 19 regions, where 1,218 settlements were left without electricity. The most severe wind damage occurred in the Dnipropetrovsk, Khmelnytsky, and Kiev regions. The roofs of dozens of residential buildings and public facilities were damaged, and vehicles were also affected. In the Volyn and Lviv regions, snow fell unexpectedly. In Kharkiv and several districts of the region, the severe weather caused large-scale power outages. The city was almost completely left without electricity, and all electric transport, including the metro, stopped operating. There were also disruptions in water supply. Dust storms were recorded in several regions. On the Kiev-Chop highway, visibility dropped almost to zero, and in the Mykolaiv region, strong winds lifted hazardous red dust from local sludge storage sites. In Vinnytsia, powerful wind gusts destroyed a bus stop, while fallen trees blocked roads across the region. During attempts by drivers to clear the route, another tree fell onto a truck cab. In Kyiv, heavy rains with hail swept through the city. Strong winds tore window frames out of apartments. A fragment of building cladding shattered the windshield of a parked car. Fortunately, no one was inside. In the city center, a botanical natural monument was damaged, the Ivashchenko chestnut tree, which is more than 150 years old. In the Kyiv region, serious infrastructure damage was also recorded. In Vyshhorod, squally winds tore the roof off one of the houses. Unfortunately, as a result of the disaster, 3 people were killed across the country due to falling trees, and another 8 were injured. Japan. On April 20th, a powerful earthquake with a magnitude of 7.4 was recorded in the Pacific Ocean off the coast of Sanriku, with a focal depth of approximately 19 kilometers. Seismic tremors were felt across a wide area, from the northeastern part of Honshu Island to Hokkaido, with maximum intensity reaching 5+ on the Japanese scale, which corresponds to strong shaking capable of causing building damage. The strongest shaking was recorded in the city of Hashikami in Aomori Prefecture. Following the earthquake, a tsunami warning was promptly issued. Waves of up to 3 meters were forecast. However, in reality, the maximum height reached about 80 centimeters in the ports of Iwate Prefecture. Immediately after the earthquake, national television channels urgently called on residents of coastal areas to evacuate without delay. More than 170,000 people received such warnings. Although the earthquake was strong, its consequences were relatively limited. Around 10 people were injured. Disruptions were observed in the transportation system, including the suspension of Shinkansen trains and road closures. In addition, dozens of buildings were damaged. It is important to note that over the past 10 years, this region had been characterized by consistently low seismic activity. The number of earthquakes with an intensity above 1 on the Japanese scale did not exceed 5 to 15 events per month. However, at the end of 2025, a sharp increase in seismic activity was observed. The number of tremors rose to 60 or more events per month, and this elevated level persists to this day. In Iwate Prefecture, in the mountains near the town of Otsuchi, 2 forest fires broke out simultaneously on April 22nd. From the very first hours, helicopters were deployed to fight the fires. However, it was not possible to contain their spread. By the evening of April 23rd, the flames had destroyed at least 7 structures, including residential homes. By the 4th day, water in hydrants and reservoirs had been almost completely depleted, and volunteers were fighting the fire manually, using hose, beating down the flames and pressing them to the ground. Seawater was also used. The fire continued to expand rapidly. By the morning of April the 27th, its area had already reached 1,618 hectares. This is only the 3rd case in Japan when a forest fire has exceeded 1,000 hectares, making it one of the largest in the country's modern history. The fire continues to spread despite the mobilization of forces from 11 prefectures and the involvement of more than 1,300 personnel.
In Japan's northeastern town,
experienced firefighters note a dangerous characteristic of fires in recent years. One of them, who worked on a major fire in Ofunato in 2025, stated the essence of the problem directly. A forest fire cannot be completely extinguished. By April 24th, about 30% of the town's population was subject to evacuation. Life was paralyzed even outside the fire hazard zone. The air was filled with smoke and ash, visibility worsened, and the smell of burning penetrated homes. Residents admit that they do not know where to evacuate or what to expect next. Against the backdrop of warnings about possible earthquakes following the powerful magnitude 7.4 event, anxiety continues to grow. Thailand. For more than a month, forest fires have continued in 19 provinces of Thailand. The most difficult situation is observed in the north of the country, where more than 1,500 fire hotspots have been identified. The fires continue to spread, covering territories with dense smog and causing significant damage to the environment and human health. In the western province of Kanchanaburi, the situation also remains difficult. 559 hotspots have been recorded there. On April 21st, a large fire broke out in the Muyang district, which intensified rapidly the following day due to strong winds. It looked as if the entire mountain was engulfed in flames. Firefighting efforts were complicated by steep slopes, dry, dense vegetation, and difficult access to the fire sources.
Northern Thailand, control and extinguish it.
Due to hazardous levels of smoke, Erawan National Park was temporarily closed for tourism and accommodation.
2 have died this year. They come from all...
For more than a month, fires in Thong Pa Pum National Park, which covers an area exceeding 1,200 square kilometers, have not been extinguished. This is one of the most important natural areas in the region, home to rare species of animals. Tigers, wild elephants, clouded leopards, and serows. The fire is causing serious damage to the ecosystem. Animals are massivo leaving their natural habitats. Many do not manage to escape and perish in the flames, while survivors move toward populated areas, complicating life for local residents. According to experts, the main problem is severe drought, which dries out forest vegetation, turning it into highly flammable material and accelerating the spread of fire. In the events that occurred in Japan, there is a detail that cannot be ignored. Increasingly, the nature of wildfires is becoming such that it cannot be explained solely by drought, heat, strong winds, and other familiar climatic factors. These causes remain significant, but they do not always explain the scale of the fires and their resistance to suppression. Some researchers note that fire hotspots often coincide with zones of deep faults in the Earth's crust. In these areas, flammable gases, methane, hydrogen, and other products of natural degassing can reach the surface, providing the fire with an additional fuel source from below. Degassing is closely linked to seismic activity. When it intensifies, the release of gases to the surface increases. Thus, recent earthquakes in Japan may have additionally activated degassing processes and, at the same time, intensified the strength and scale of the fires. Today, the factor of natural degassing is very rarely considered in fire hazard assessments as a potential mechanism that can amplify wildfires. Against the backdrop of increasing seismic activity on the planet, its significance may be substantially underestimated. The growing number of newly observed anomalies in various natural disasters highlights the importance of ensuring that scientific data can freely and promptly reach researchers around the world without barriers or restrictions. The unification of scientific potential and resources is a key condition under which humanity will be able to respond more effectively to the challenges of a changing climate.